Welcome to this episode of Crossroad Connection. My name is Art Van Walde, and I'm your host. And today we have the privilege of having Jamie Rykse with us. She is the GED and Literacy Program Coordinator at Heartside Ministry. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you.
It's good to have you with us.
Good to be here, Art.
Okay. You are with Hardside Ministry, and I know those who are listening are probably wondering, what is Hardside Ministry? And can you tell us what this is?
Hardside Ministry, we're a sanctuary we help people in the midst of poverty and homelessness. We provide them a safe environment to come to. We're located at 54 South Division, which is in the heart of the Hardside neighborhood, downtown Grand Rapids. We offer advocacy, which people can get help with prescription drugs or DHS papers, anything you need an advocate for. We also have a big art program there where people can come in. We have the painting art, pottery art, wood shop. We have a lot of things where people can get the tools they need to become self-sufficient. We do have First Friday events every first Friday of the month where the whole division is turning into a big arts venue. So people actually come and buy art on the first Friday, but they can come in anytime and buy the art. We have Christmas shows. It gives the artists a chance to make money either as a secondary or a primary source of income. They keep 75% of whatever they make, and 25% goes back into the ministries to keep supplies afloat and whatnot. And then we have the GED program and the literacy program, which I
was just going to ask you, where does the GED and literacy program come in? So
it always existed at Hardside, but almost on a non-existent base. I started volunteering at Hardside in 2007, 2008. I was working in the computer lab, and then I was telling the executive director at that time I wanted to do the GED program, and he's like, well, we'll think about it. And then I talked to Helen, the volunteer coordinator. I'm like, look, I really want to do the GED program. I got my GED while incarcerated in the Michigan Department of Corrections. And so I started tutoring other women in the prison, and I thought it was really important because they're like, oh, you explain it so easy and stuff. So I always had a passion like to help people better themselves because, you know, through Heartside Ministry, I was able, and God first, of course, I was able to better my life. Because I started at Hardside as a neighbor. The people we serve, we call them neighbors because they are neighbors, yours and mine. They're our neighbors. And so...
When did you start at Hardside as a neighbor?
I started at Hardside as a neighbor when I was about 14 years old. I was living homeless on the streets. And so it provided me a place to get a cup of coffee. It provided me a place to use the restroom, little things that we take for granted. It just gave me a place to get out of the chaotic life on the streets, people harassing you on a day-to-day basis, people riding by cars, throwing things at you like they're in a zoo and stuff like that. So,
when did Hardside Ministries start?
About 35 years ago, about 30 years ago. It started actually with George Hartwell, Mayor George Hartwell.
I know, the mayor of Grand Rapids started this ministry.
He did, and he's been such a, he's just been there. Like, he's always there still. Like, he's really a down-to-earth man. He started it really with a pot of coffee to do outreach, and just to give neighbors a sanctuary to come to. And then it blew up from there.
Isn't that neat that a person that's in leadership in Grand Rapids, the mayor, started this ministry called Hardside Ministry to help people who were homeless by just simply giving them a cup of coffee, a place to go to the bathroom, maybe warm up on a cold winter's day, a place to have a friend.
Yes.
Okay, and that's when you got involved in Hardside when you were 14 years old?
I did.
Okay.
And I was kind of, I was still young and on the streets and everything, and I ended up getting in trouble. I went to prison when I was 17, and so now I think it's so important. I didn't get the rehabilitative services I needed in prison. They kind of just put me in prison and was like, you have to do this, you have to do your time, and it wasn't a place for no child to be. I'm glad that I went because everything happens for a reason. I've never been back. It was like a one-time deal for me, but I don't feel like they have enough resources out there to help everybody. But they do if everybody in the world takes on one person, then it would be a better place, right? It would be an easier thing.
How long were you incarcerated?
4 years.
4 years. Yeah. And in that 4 years, that's when you got your GED.
I did.
Okay. How long did it take you to finish the GED?
About 3 months.
Wow. You're motivated.
I am.
Okay. So you got your GED and you were released, and then you have this passion to help people with to get their GED and help them with literacy.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I didn't do good right after I got released because I kind of forgot about Hardside. I really didn't have support. I was trying to reach out to my mom and stuff. She was kind of on drugs still. She died from a drug overdose in 2008 and stuff. And that's when I was like, okay, I was kind of volunteering at Hardside, but that's when I had relapsed on drugs. I was on drugs myself, and I started hallucinating, think I seen my mom and everything, and I got on my knees. I broke all my paraphernalia. I got on my knees, and I prayed for God to give me a way out, and he did. I've never turned back ever since then. I went down to Hardside like I was working a full-time job, 9 to 4. I wasn't getting paid. I was getting paid in spirit, you know, helping people, but financially I wasn't. And so now God took all that. I don't get any government assistance anymore. I don't get food stamps. I don't get Section 8. I don't get anything. My program was funded through the Steelcase Foundation and through the Dire Eyes Foundation. So we are looking to keep the program going right now as well, because we did recently get in the Grand Rapids press that we have the national and state, we're beating national and state scores on a national and local level.
So now how many people do you have helping you with tutoring with GED and literacy? Do you have a lot of volunteers helping you?
We have some. We can always use more because we can help so many more people, but Mondays we're kind of short-staffed of volunteers. I have one intern, Kaylin, and she's doing an awesome job. And then we have maybe two. We have class Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 1 to 3:30. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday we're pretty set on volunteers, but we do need volunteers with consistency and who are willing to walk one-on-one, because the program is designed not to have a beginning or an end. People can come in, they take the 4 set of pre-tests, which Pearson VUE and my GED testing service partner together to privatize the GED test now, so it's more of a college readiness test now. Very difficult now. We give the people the motivation, though.
Right.
We don't tell them it's hard. We give them the courage and like the affirmation that they can do it, and they do it. So people come in, take the 4 pre-tests. If they get a 150 out of a 200, we pay for them to take the official GED test, which we became, in June 2014, we became an official GED testing center. So we only test on Fridays, and out of them Fridays, we've had about 175 people take and pass, or 175 tests taken.
Now talk to me about the literacy. How many people are you helping learning how to read and do that?
Well, we're doing that in 2 sections. We're partnered with the Literacy Center of West Michigan right now, who on a normal basis don't deal with people with violent felonies or chronic mental health issues. And so the program kind of bridges that gap where they can come in and teach the National Career Readiness Certification class, which employers are mandating on a national and a local level now. And so we've tested 45 out of the 46 tests that were taken, people were given certificates. So 11 people were getting certificates, and we have 5 people working on their National Career Readiness Certification right now. So we just got one tutor trained to do the one-on-one literacy portion of it, where people have to be willing to dedicate a year to work with one person who cannot read at a functional level. They can't read their kids' prescription bottles or their kids' homework. They can't read basic things. And so we're working to get people trained so they'll be able to dedicate 2 hours a week for a year.
To help someone learn how to read. Now, are you running across a lot of people that don't know how to read?
Yeah, it's 70% of people in West Michigan, Kent County, can't read at a functional level, and it's really condensed in the downtown Hardside neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's amazing to me, because reading is something I take for granted. I mean, I love to read. My family loves to read. It's just, a wonderful gift, and there's many people that don't have that gift, and you're willing to give them that gift.
Yes. I think it's really important, especially when it comes to reading the Bible, that people can read, because God said if the blind lead the blind, both fall in the ditch. So if you could blindly be led by somebody, unless you can read the words for yourself and see what God is really telling you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why it's really important to me.
Yeah, and in our ministry here at Crossroads, I mean, we're about helping people learn about the Bible. And so reading the Bible, reading the lessons, answering questions, then writing a letter to, the instructor writing a letter back, and that's all through knowing how to read and write. So literacy is important.
It is very important. And I think 62% of inmates in the Michigan Department of Corrections cannot read at a functional level.
62%?
Yes.
So this is a great need.
It's a great need, and it creates a high recidivism rate. You go into prison, and they're taking the education system out of the prison. Now you can't even get a GED in prison anymore. You can't get a GED in the Kent County Jail anymore. But so what's going to happen? People are going to get out, and they're still not going to be able to get a job because they can't read. It's still going to be hard to get a GED. It's going to take a long time to get from the point of not being able to read in the point to getting a GED. So what are they going to do? The same things that cause them to go back to prison. That's why we need more programs for education and literacy and spiritually led.
Well, you said something earlier that I want to go back to. Each person to reach somebody. There's someone in our life right now, my wife and I. She's a mom, homeless. We've, in many ways, adopted her like a daughter. And walk alongside of her and her child and loving her and helping her in her needs and trying to move forward in life. And it's wonderful to do.
It is.
It's wonderful to see someone grow and to try to help them. And just think if we could get more people to say, you know what, we're going to make room in our life. We're going to have someone be our neighbor so that we can love them and help them. And it sounds to me that's exactly what Heartside Ministry is trying to do. That
is what we're trying to do, and that's what we are doing. And it's beautiful. We don't get any state or federal funding, so that's important to me because with my biased opinion, living homeless, living in the streets, eating at these kitchens and living in these shelters and stuff like that, a lot of them will get, and I'm not trying to put down anybody's ministry, but this is my biased opinion, a lot of them get enough help to keep you kind of stuck inside the box. And that's why I call Hardside the light within the prison system, because downtown is set up like a prison system. You're walking around, you're going to the child hall, you're going to the healthcare center, you're going here, but yet, what are you getting that you need? In Hardside, you can come there and you can get somebody to talk to. You can be yourself. We're not out there just trying to bar people out there because we know people have mental health issues. People get angry, people get emotional, in the way that Jesus walked, he walked very humbly. He took people and walked them on the side of him, He didn't put himself up here like he was better than anybody because he wasn't. I mean, he
was God.
He was God.
But he was with them.
He was with them still, and he was just so humble and so, really, you were the Son of Man, but you're down here, and so how much are we? We're not nowhere near him. So, I think we can humble ourselves down and help our brother and our sister, like the Most High commands us to do, right?
Philippians 2 tells us that Jesus Christ did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but he made himself lower. In other words, he humbled himself.
Amen.
And he became obedient.
Right.
He became one of us.
Right.
And so to save us. And it sounds to me like what Hardside is doing is modeling Christ to its neighborhood.
We are.
Well, we're going to take a break. And when we come back from the break, Jamie, I'm going to want to talk about some stories of people that you are encountering and life change that God is bringing into their lives.
Okay.
So, audience, we'll see you back in a few minutes.
Correcting Bible study lessons is crucial to helping inmates. To partner with CBI in this safe and secure role, please visit us at cbi.fm on the web.
Welcome back to this episode of Crossroad Connection, and today we are talking with Jamie Rykse, and she is with Heartside Ministry. And before we went to break, I said that we were going to talk about stories of people that Jamie is interacting with and stories of change that she is seeing. And wondering, Jamie, are there some people you can talk to us about that you have seen God bring wonderful change into their lives?
Well, the first person who comes to my mind is Kevin. Kevin, he was 19. He got his GED last year, and his brother was murdered while he was in high school. His brother was 1 year under him, so he was 17 and his brother was 16, and he was murdered over on Division, by Division and Hall area. And so Kevin ended up dropping out of school. He said none of his teachers ever believed in him, and he came to Hardside one day, and he would come and he would leave and he would come back, and we always welcome him back. You're always welcome. And then he finally came back and he stuck and he stayed, and he graduated, and he was like, he gave me a big hug and he started crying. And he was like, I just want to thank you for believing in me. He's like, nobody ever believed in me. He's like, now he's in college and stuff. And so I keep in touch with him on Facebook a lot. I see his posts and stuff. He's doing good in school. Then he sent one of his homeboys down there in Harold, and I call him Officer Smith because he just got his GED maybe 6 months ago, and then he got accepted into the police academy. There's another young lady, she was living homeless on the streets, and I don't really want to say her name, but she was kind of sold for drugs by her mother when she was like 9 years old and stuff, and so she's been through a lot of stuff and ridiculed on the streets for the life she was living, but she came and got her GED by the time she turned 21, so since she got it by the time she turned 21, she got her first 2 years of college paid for. So she's in college now working on her degree.
Wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a lot of amazing work being done. People getting jobs, and so we're helping people get jobs. We've helped about 30 people get jobs in the last couple months too, like filling out their resumes and actually contact them, like kind of partnered with a few job places, mostly temporary services that lead into full-time positions. But
Jamie, let me ask you this question, and this might go in an interesting direction. In all of this, with the GEDs and helping people go to college and seeing all this life change, where does God fit into all of this? How do you see God fitting into this?
God first. God first. Like, seek God first, and all things will be given unto you. My favorite Bible scripture, I would say, is James. Consider it pure joy, my brethren, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because knowing that the testing of your perseverance, you have to be complete, not lacking in anything, right? So in other words, we have to go through what we have to go through to make us who we are. I could be bitter. I was angry at my mom for a long time for having to live on the streets, but by overcoming my drug addiction, my own drug addiction, I could understand that my mom, she was my mom, but before she was my mom, she was human. My faith in God is like everything to me. Like, I would be nowhere without God, without the Most High. He's the head of my life.
Now, with the people that you are coming in contact with, how do you see God playing a role in their lives as they are getting their GEDs and moving forward? Do you see God as a significant part of the change in their lives?
I do, and I know they try to separate school and God, but I can't do that because I tell everybody about God, like how he is, because he said if you deny him, he's going to deny you, so I'm not denying God for nobody. And I'm going to I'm going to let everybody know, and I see God working in people's life. Like, I see people coming in crying and broken and destroyed, but they're leaving. You know, people still are going to have their issues, but they have the more tools. They have what they need, you know. And
to live life and to move forward, yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jamie, a lot of our listeners are writing letters to those who are incarcerated. And, and I'm also writing letters for Crossroad Bible Institute. I have several students that I'm corresponding with. And I know I'm always looking for maybe some interesting insights on how to write a good letter to someone who is in prison. Do you have any insights for us?
I'll tell you what I tell everybody. I think it's always important that you humanize yourself, because if you humanize yourself, it liberates others to do the same. And so, you know, be humble. Tell them, let them know that, you know, you have mistakes too. Let them know that you're human, you know, and that it allows other people to open up too. People, tell them how your day was. I mean, yeah, it's good to tell people about God, and that's the most important thing, but let them know that you're human as well. Let them know what you're doing on a daily basis. Like, tell them, like, how the water looks, how the sun looks, little things that we take for granted. People want to know, like, that stuff is, like, so interesting when you're incarcerated because it brings you into another zone. It takes you out of that dark prison cell. And so I would just tell them, like, things going on in the world, things you find interesting, little pictures that you like, if you can still send pictures or whatever, you know, little things.
You know, it's interesting you said talk about yourself a bit. We tell our instructors to, you know, to be careful with that, but, you know, but do give them insight into who you are. And,
Right.
A few years ago with one of my students, I was going through a personal struggle in my family with one of my children. And I just opened up to my student about it and just said, you know, pray for me. This is what's going on in my life. You've sent me prayer requests. I'm asking you to please pray for me. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Boy, did that open up a door.
Yes.
My student, he corresponded back to me a lot about that issue, how he was praying for me and the family member, and it was wonderful.
Yes. It's beautiful, and it does.
Okay. Another question I have for you is there's something with Hardside Ministry. It's called Urban Plunge.
Yes.
And we should touch base about that a little bit. Can you talk to us about Urban Plunge?
Urban Plunge is another program I coordinate, and it's kind of bridging the gap between stereotypes. Like, we have it set up like so people can actually come from the suburbs and live homeless for the weekend or for a day, or they can take a tour of the neighborhood and look at the different facilities in the neighborhood, the resources that are offered. I've worked a lot with like youth groups. They'll come in, they will come in, they'll only get $2, so they have to figure out where they can eat for $2. I don't tell them anything where they can eat or not, so they have to talk to the neighbors and find out where they can eat. I usually have 2 or 3 neighbors talking, telling their stories. It's very impactful. I tell my story. Very impactful. It bridges the stereotypes between what the neighbors think about the other neighbors, the suburbians.
Okay,
So
but
the
the people from the burbs.
Yeah, the suburbians. You know, because you don't ever know what anybody's been through on both sides of the so-called spectrums. You know, you can judge this person over here and say they've had everything handed to them on a silver platter, and you can look at this man who's sleeping in the cubbyhole, but you might not know he's a homeless vet who fought for your freedom, and he's out here displaced, sleeping on the street. And yeah, he might be an alcoholic, but that's self-medicated. You know, he probably has PTSD. You just never know, and you know, you never know what they've been through. They could have been through something in their childhood. You know, so you never ever know, and it kind of bridges that gap and allows people to get to know each other as human beings as opposed to the haves and the have-nots.
So this is over a weekend, you said?
It can be over a weekend, over a night, over a 3-hour span. It just depends on...
It depends on the youth group or the people that want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So we can do a 3-hour where I take them on a tour of the neighborhood, take them on a tour of the building, let them talk to neighbors, and then, or they can like spend the night and then like go eat at the ministry, wake up, go to church on Sunday, because we have church service at Heartside Ministry every Sunday at 11:30. We also have a choir, so yeah, they can do music with the choir, they can do art, they can do anything with the weekend.
Jamie, if people want to find out more information about Heartside Ministries, I'm sure you have a website. What is the website?
HeartsideMinistry.org.
HeartsideMinistry.org.
Yes.
Okay, so they can go there and they can learn about the ministry and maybe ways they can volunteer and help out.
Correct.
Okay. How can our listeners pray for Heartside Ministry? And how can our listeners, pray for a lot of the neighbors that you're in contact with?
I think they would pray that they can find truth, that they can find shelter, that they can find food when they're hungry, the basic necessities that they can pray that God give them the basic necessities, because he does promise with food in our stomach, clothes over our back, and a roof over our head. So pray for the basic necessities and pray that they can get closer to God or know God, period, you know, because sometimes people give up hope, you know, so just pray that people don't never lose hope.
In any specific ways we can pray for the ministry, Heartside, specifically for the organization?
I would say that pray that we can, we're actually renting our building right now, and we purchased another building, but we're going to sell that building and we're getting another building now, but I can't tell what building that is yet.
Okay.
But we are getting that building, and it's a bigger space than we were going to have originally and stuff. So we're doing our capital campaign right now, raising the money so we can make sure we have, because there's a lot of gentrification going on in the neighborhood. A lot of people are getting pushed out. And I fear that we would get pushed out if we didn't have a secure building. So we're securing the building right now. So we're not going anywhere. We're here to stay.
Well, real quick, explain to our listeners what's gentrification if they don't know what that is.
Well,
Can you, yeah.
Yeah, so gentrification is like, it's a lot of homeless population down in the Hardside neighborhood, but it's a lot of these people coming and buying these condos and putting up condos in the arena and all these big buildings, all these market value housing, and it's pushing a lot of people out towards like Kentwood and East Grand Rapids. Is displacing a lot of people as well. Everybody has a story, so we don't never know. It's a lot of the stuff getting pushed out and people coming in and judging people and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of important, like, to bridge that gap of the gentrification.
Yeah. With gentrification, what happens is the homeless get displaced again.
Yes.
And instead of, helping those who are homeless and are in need, they get pushed out to another place.
Yep.
And the call of the Christian is we are to help those who are in need. We're to help those who are homeless. We're to give them a drink of water. We're to give them clothes for their back. Exactly. Christ says, what you do for the least of these, you do for me.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Jamie, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so
I
much
pray
for
for God's
having me.
blessings on the Hardside Ministry.
Thank you.
And especially as you continue to help people earn their GEDs and as you get the literacy program going, I pray that you will receive a blessing there.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And for all of those who are listening to us today, thanks for listening to this episode of Crossroad Connection. And what we pray is that you will receive God's blessing this day. Have a good day.